Allen Paulson, a jack of all trades and master of many. Few people on this planet who have come from humble backgrounds can recognize the opportunities around them, stake all they have on their judgment, and emerge victoriously. Allen Paulson was one of those rare individuals who could. His achievements have touched all of us by incorporating aviation into the world. Whether as a mechanic, aerial junk dealer, pilot, salesman, innovator, entrepreneur, visionary, or just a CEO, the seeds he sowed set a new course of the future to come. The Gulfstream jets became undisputedly the most sought-after airborne chariots for corporate executives in our time. And that's all thanks to Allen and his soft-spoken yet still determined management. Let's dive right into know more about his story. Allen E. Paulson was born in Clinton, Iowa on 22nd April 1922. Growing up, he lived quite an ordinary life, but Allen craved more. So he decided to join his brothers in California, but without any money, he was stuck. One day, he heard of a bingo game with high stakes. That's how 14-year-old Allen won $100 to buy a bus ticket across the country. Life was never easy for young Allen. Without any financial support from his family, he had to work on a dairy farm to pay for his school. After graduating high school, he got a job as an entry-level mechanic at Trans World Airlines or TWA for about 30 cents an hour. Now, usually most of us would have an idea for our future after high school, right? But Allen didn't. So he decided to do what many others did at that time and joined the US Army Corp from 1943 to 1945, where he found his true passion, flying. After serving in the Army, he studied engineering at the University of West Virginia for a year, graduating the TWA as a flight engineer. Once he got his flight license, he started flying commercially for them. After some time passed, Al wanted to start his own business. He knew he could use his TWA license and transport cars from one city to another to sell them at a lower price. So that's exactly what he did. He transported cars from Chicago and sold them in California. The stark difference between successful people and the rest is that they are bold enough to venture into new careers. Al was no different. He formed his own company in 1951, first buying Wright R3350 engines from Boeing and selling them to airlines at a lower price. As Steve Jobs once said, innovation is the ability to see change as an opportunity, not a threat. Brilliant innovators founded every big corporation, and Gulfstream was no different. Allen was an exceptional innovator with a mind like no other. He bought his first plane for resale in 1955, stripped it for parts, and scrapped the rest, using his findings to build a new plane. He was a staunch businessman. He knew the aeroplane industry was booming and he dived right into it. The first 3 aeroplanes that he bought were Convair 240s. Al knew that second-hand aeroplanes were cheaper than new ones, making people more inclined to believe in him over his competitors. As time passed, Al had more 4-engine airliners than any company by 1959, and his business, California Aeromotive Corp, grew to be one of the world's largest dealers in used aircraft. At this point, there was no looking back, as his company grew at a rapid pace. He decided it was time to expand. In the early 1960s, he bought the Pacific Aeromotive Corp and converted various passenger transport types to freighters. Fast forward about a decade, and he began his work on the American Jet Hustler in 1970, a corporate aircraft with a propeller in the front for short runway use and a jet in the back for high-altitude cruising. California Aeromotive was renamed American Jet Industries in 1973. It was in 1978 that Al acquired Gulfstream, thus marking the start of his pursuit of excellence. You see, Gulfstream was losing money, but he saw a path more significant than any imaginable. So he handpicked a marketing team to turn things around quickly, and within no time, he was pleased that his new Gulfstream Aircraft Corp turned a profit in its first year of operation. He even took it a step further by being the first to open a Gulfstream completion and support center. Soon, he decided to go public with his company in 1983, selling 80 million shares, bringing in $19 million in cash. Although that seemed like a lot, Al still kept his claims worth more than $400 million. With no shortage of money, he started to build the Gulfstream we know today, and he turned the company into a profitable and respected one. A few years later, he sold the company to the Chrysler Corporation for $750 million in 1985, but remained Gulfstream's CEO and president. For the first time in 50 years, Al was under someone else's payroll. He and Ted Fortsman bought back the company in 1989, and he continued to serve as CEO until his retirement in 1992. Now looking back at Allen's life, it may look like he spent his entire life in aviation, but that's not the case. In 1983, he got involved in thoroughbred horse racing. Not your usual recreation, eh? He eventually became a force in racing in North America and France, and even became the owner of more than 115 graded stakes winners. His horses won an unprecedented 8 Breeders' Cup races, earning him more money than any other stable owner. Now, this was a man with a variety of interests. He became chairman and CEO of casino operator Full House Resorts after purchasing a 17.5% interest in 1994. To quote the man himself, "I never met a lazy, lucky man. Happily, I made more right decisions than wrong ones." One of the reasons for his business success was that if a contract went wrong, he didn't spend any time trying to save it. Instead, he will go on with a new agreement, simply stating, "It takes a lot of work to try to redeem a bad deal." Allen was a true changer from the start. He didn't let issues get in the way of his progress. He tried to see the bright side of things. If someone told him he couldn't do something, he'll do his research, develop a plan, and complete the task. Allen Paulson passed away in 2000 at the age of 78 due to cancer. His legacy still lives on as Gulfstream follows his vision to this day. He is an inspiration to many and was the pace setter for the aviation community. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like and subscribe buttons. It does wonders for the YouTube algorithm, so more people can see our videos and so that you can be notified when we launch our next video. We try and put out at least one new one per week, and as you can imagine, the research and editing alone of these type of videos takes us close to 18 hours. So we would really appreciate it if you could also check out our Patreon. For just $1 a month, you can support our work. We produce over 12 videos per month, so that is literally 8 cents per video. Thank you so much, and we'll see you at our next unmasking.